exclusively informed that the National Intelligence Service is the one that advised Hussein Mohammed dispatch of Ruto calling Uhuru Kenyatta. Isaac Mwaura's statement after Mwaura's statement was regarded as reckless. Then told, even Isaac Mwaura himself doesn't know his statement was regarded as reckless. Welcome to the Bold Analysis. I want to break down and I want us to look at the real issue at hand. The behind the scene intrigues behind Ruto desperately looking for Uhuru Kenyatta for better part of Monday night that preceded the call on Tuesday morning. But then why did it take long if the call was made earlier in the morning? But why did it take long until in the afternoon for the dispatch about the call to be relayed 2 p.m. that is on Tuesday afternoon? So behind the scene intrigues are very interesting. And in this country, if there is a layer that no president can always despise, is the intelligence. In this country, that is one of the critical assets that every president, exclusively every president will have at his disposal. And you can despise any other person around you, but you cannot despise what the intelligence are telling you, because you are under obligation and under oath to ensure that you act on actionable intelligence. Look at these headlines. Behind the scenes, these are headlines of how different stations, different media houses covered that call. And yesterday I said that let's look at them first. Inside Ruto Uhuru surprise phone call. They've detailed a report on what exactly transpired between for the call that William Ruto made to Uhuru Kenyatta. The people daily are saying Ruto reaches out to Uhuru in office fight. Yesterday, and let me just pause there and explain. In my video yesterday, I told you I didn't have evidence on who called who. But I said it here that if Uhuru Kenyatta is the person that would have made the call to William Ruto, then that call would even be recorded somewhere. You will even overheard that call. That call would have been exposed and the country would have been told on how desperately Uhuru Kenyatta reached out to William Ruto. And because it is Ruto's side that was speaking and spoke about that call, it was very evident that it was Uhuru Kenyatta, it is William Ruto that reached out to the former president. On who reached to the who is not even a big issue here. But that is, I think people daily have confirmed yesterday what I analyzed and I said on the issue of Ruto making the call. But as we go, you will understand how it even reached there. Nation saying, Ruto Uhuru seek to end Pax, Ropak, and Tuliza Boli behind the scene of this. If you look at that headlines, those three headlines, the Standard Nation and the Standard, the Nation, People Daily, and the Taifa Leo, the four headlines, they're all speaking about Ruto making the call. And that's what I want to unpack for you here. I started by telling you that Mwaura's statement was reckless. The mainstream reports now emerged detailing the Tuesday morning intelligence brief that changed everything ahead of the move to reach out to former president. When the press briefing, when Kanzadena made this press briefing in Nairobi, it was evident she was determined to spill the beans. If you look at the tone of that presser, the tone was very clear that Ruto has refused to respect the constitutional obligation of taking care of the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta. So any other twist and spin around it, you can juggle around with it. But the first understanding is he's declined to take care of the former president. And number two, there are two things in it. Number one, it is Kenyatta family, and that is why even Kanzendena mentioned about the security withdrawal of Mama Ngina. And that's why there have been a bit of mobility. The statement, and I think the intelligence team were following up on how the story was unfolding. The statement was later released by Isaac Mwaura, who is the government spokesperson. And I took this analysis because yesterday in my podcast, I said I had everything wrong with how Mwaura addressed that fallout. And from a communication perspective, that is something I'm so enthusiastic about, is that is already a crisis. It's already a crisis that Kanzendena has unleashed the dodge in the nation. Then when the government comes, allegedly government spokesperson releases a statement, it is just a political, it's political statements in the rallies that have been translated and joined up together and unleashed and released as a press briefing. I did not see an official position. I saw someone who was just involved in back and forth. And in fact, I said, and I will repeat here, there is no way Uhuru Kenyatta would complain of security of the mother if they've already been reinstated. There's no way Uhuru Kenyatta was going to complain about the parks, the office staff, the midnight calls of the security withdrawal, the cars. There was no way Uhuru Kenyatta was going to complain about these things if those things have been divided. If those things have been provided. So when Mwaura wrote that presser, that press release that titled "Putting the Record Straight," first putting the record straight. No one was interested in putting the record straight. The burden of proof, the person who's supposed to provide, the office that is supposed to provide is the office of the president. That's the retirement benefits of the president falls under the office of the president. So there was no two-way about it. And that statement, the intelligence team called it reckless, and they warned of a full-blown crisis. Because look at the president's popularity. On the manner he's going to handle it, William Ruto is already struggling with the popularity issues across the country. In fact, Mwaura office, that position they gave was catastrophic, and it exposed two things. There is no synergy. The created office of spokesperson is just another government political wing. In fact, even the way it was constituted and the person who was picked, the competence, I'm not saying, it's not true that Mwaura is not competent in terms of qualification. But the orientation, the political orientation of the office holder just tells you this is a propagandist. This is a propaganda tool. I want you to remember the days of Mutua. Mutua was in that office. Eric Kiraide, the current chief of staff in Siaya, Colonel Oguna. That was Uhuru Kenyatta. There are a few things that was not going on right. But this office, the choice of picking even Mwaura to be in that office was even a big blunder, because look at the way he was nominated under Jubilee Party and then became one of the attack dogs against Uhuru Kenyatta and said so many even unprinted words against the former president. His background, he was coming in as a political, someone on the political end. And there is absolutely everything wrong with the choice of Mwaura in that position. But let me tell you what happened. I think as the office of the spokesperson, if there is an office that lacks autonomy, that should not have autonomy, is that office. Because what are they communicating? They are communicating government position. What I was expecting is, what are Treasury saying? What is State House saying? That is what the office of the government spokesperson should be talking. Consult the State House. Get what the State House are saying. Put it down. And then, let's see the tone of government in this. I did not see the tone of government. I saw a government in argument with facts. And that is why the intelligence team said, that must be called in order. So the attempt started first. The head of public service, Kosgei, was the first to make an approach to the Kenyatta Secretariat, led by Kanzedena. And after the issues were addressed, actually not much were addressed by Uhuru and Ruto talk. After they were addressed there, because before Ruto called Uhuru Kenyatta, Kosgei had already engaged the Secretariat. But then they demanded to meet for Ruto to talk with Uhuru, because that is what they needed for the headline. They needed that for the headline. And Uhuru's numbers have changed and keeps on changing. So it did not take very easy to get the direct call until two people engaged, Muturi, who is believed to be a close buddy to him, and also, they're also talking about some ambassador. I think that's some of the reports I've seen. Some ambassadors were also involved in getting Uhuru Kenyatta's direct line. Then the said call. So much of what was said there has not been relayed, but I can promise you that Ruto will go to a rally in Mount Kenya, and in that rally, this matter will prop up, and he will tell us what is discussed with the president. Don't expect it to this. These are the things that are not going to be there. But in some rally somewhere, we will be told. Now, so this was some of the biggest concerns by the intelligence team and everyone around this. Number one, the compromise on the security of former First Lady Mama Ngina Kenyatta is a big issue even to the British envoys. Remember, this is the founding First Lady of the nation. Founding First Lady. And it was eroding a tradition. It was going against a tradition that had been in this country for more than 30 years. Number two, the security of the former president and Uhuru Kenyatta was a commander-in-chief of our military. It was the lowest sink. Lowest sink. You can meddle with Matiang'i, also. But on Uhuru, the country was sink to its lowest point. Number four, the other concern here is, with that coming of disregarding the welfare of Uhuru Kenyatta, it was attracting more sympathy on his end. And of course, establishing there as also another center of power. And remember, that will be a strong axis to dislodge Ruto. Uhuru axis will become a very strong pillar even to dislodge William Ruto. So, but what really changed the whole thing is the card of going to media about it. And if you listen to Kanzedena was saying, we didn't want to go public. We didn't want to go to media. But you will listen to her speech in Citizen TV that very night when she was saying that William Ruto must just come clear. If you don't want to pay, if you don't want to take care of former President Uhuru Kenyatta's retirement benefits, then just come clear and avoid the sideshows. We will know that it's not going to be paid, and we'll just reconcile with that fact. I remember that speech, that interview in Citizen. And the way that matter had been handled, Ruto also understood very well that, look at the way things had happened very fast, and it was getting to the media. After Citizen, what else? Who was going to defend government in media about it? And they knew very well that what Uhuru was raising was the truth, that quite a number of issues had not been addressed. So I know someone is asking, when even through this analysis, people have been asking me, Kevin, so what will happen to Uhuru? You know, leave alone those petty, those pedestrian thoughts of he's rich, he can take care of himself. You know, he did this to Raila, he did this, I don't know, to Chief Justice. You know, this point is not a matter of favor. It's not benevolence. This is adherence to the Constitution. So there are so many factors involved in this. Apart from the undertones of political revenge, which will come, but there is also a point of two things: accountability and adherence to the Constitution. And that is why the Uhuru escalating the Paxton media sent shockwaves on William Ruto camp. Number one, the next thing that will be on table and would have happened here is the Kenyatta family. The issue was the fight between state and Kenyatta family. And if that is it, it will emerge, or rather degenerate into anti-Ruto pushback after it gets traction. Yes. It will be an anti-Ruto pushback. The finance bill is going on here. You don't know how people might turn. There is just another follow-up to the Rigathi, you know, how things will be. And the pushback by Uhuru Kenyatta would have taken different forms. Remember, the banking sector, if there is a place where Uhuru has part of his big network is the banking sector. And this banking sector, has had a hit. Kenya Kwanza, one of the biggest borrowing pool for Kenya Kwanza are the local banks. They borrow in the local banks more than any other place. So if there is a place there was a big problem is on the local borrowing. And Ruto knew there is a trigger he can pull. There's a trigger here, there's a trigger there. So that's one of the fronts of the pushback. And that is why, number two, the story was getting global attention and was exposing the rot and the corruption debris in State House. I still want to repeat this, and we will still continue to ask. This answer should be given, at least an explanation. I think the duty bearer owes the public this explanation. Over 1 billion has been set aside for the office of the former president. Financial year 2023, 2024. Plus now this one. Out of that money, only 48 million has been spent and has been sent to William Ruto, to the office of the former president. So, if the money leaves treasury, and it leaves that money should go into taking care of William Ruto retirement benefits. If that money doesn't reach that account, where has it been? It's accountability question. And they know very well that with that sort of getting global attention, it borders corruption. You know, the public, the pedestrian look here by outsider here will be that, you know, Uhuru should not be given that money because he has, Uhuru should not be given that money because of those funny petty reasons. But someone who is analytical, and even the civil society organizations would emerge. And even William Ruto was heading to court. Someone can go to court to ask, by the way. Yes. And would open a big battle, litigation fight between Kenyatta family and the state. That will come with so many damages. So that litigation aspect is coming because the question here is, where has the money been going? It's swali mzuri sana. I wish people think about it. The other third issue is the high degree of national security. Part of the things is, you know, if he's entitled that some of his premises, he has a home in Nairobi, he has a home in Kiambu, he has a home in Nakuru, he has a home, I think, in Narok or something. If all this are supposed to be protected, there's security that is supposed to be deployed there, then that is what should be done. And people should not start. In fact, on the security front, just give Kenyatta security. Why? We took 1,000 officers to Haiti, knowing very well that we have our own deficits here. If we have police we can take to Haiti, then one that is in the constitution, the Haiti one is even out of the constitution. One that is in the constitution, really, then we just need to grant it. I want you to imagine of the residence of Uhuru Kenyatta, maybe, even if he's not there but attacked. How will you explain that? It's a national security factor. The degree of national security is high. I think lastly, there is also degrading the Kenyan diplomacy standing. Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president's office, is part of the diplomatic front for the country. Right? Look at East Africa. The East African community handed over a negotiation peace deal role by the president is leading in the continent, in DR Congo. Recently, former President Uhuru Kenyatta was an election lead AU observer mission in South Africa. So, and that office, its also significance, it's a diplomatic front. It's a diplomatic front office for the Republic of Kenya. And there are some things that if they are also to happen, they are to be done, can be done through that office. So ladies and gentlemen, that is my take on what exactly transpired there. Thank you very much, Ruth. I've received, quite a number that are, I need to say it today, yes. So thank you very much, for Sirere. Thank you, Sirere, for that. Is it Sirenge? Not Sirenge, Sirenge for coffee. Thank you for coffee. May God bless you. Asanteni sana.